Deconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's Hardy. You can find us on Hardy, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram with the host Komp and
Rodney Dangerfield.
Today's film is
Nosferatu, 1922.
We're doing
A Symphony of Horror, 1922.
We're doing movies from the 1920s and up for Halloween. Happy Halloween, fuckers. Would you like to have sex with a chicken? Nosferatu, 1922. A Symphony of Horror. Directed.
You really explained the meaning of the word horror.
Vampire Count Hardcock, Count Orlok expresses interest in a new residence and real estate, Agent Hutter's wife. What? Mm-hmm. Oh, I read that wrong. Anyway, directed by F.W. Murnau. No, wait, I gotta say that right. Directed by F.W. Murnau. Written by Heinrich Galeen. Based on a play by the novel Bram Stoker. Was Bram Stoker German? That sounds
Do you
like
think
German.
it was really inspired by Dracula? There's no similarities.
Are you kidding me?
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. Starring Max Schreck, Alexander Granach, Gustav von Wangenheim. Ooh, that's a good name. As well as
nice. I want to name my first child Gustav von Wangenheim.
Greta Schroeder, George H. Schnell, Ruf Landshof, Gustav Batz. I could read these names all day. So, Nosferatu is a classic horror film. You've probably seen the two most memorable images. They use this stock image. I swear, if you ever see the stuff that
I've seen the image so many fucking times, and I've never seen the movie, but I know exactly what it was. Already.
There's two specific images that they always use. Nosferatu's shadow climbing up the staircase, and him standing over the girl. I think those are the two shots I've seen hundreds of millions of times. And when they say, whenever you're walking into a vampire movie and they're explaining what vampires are, they'll be like some voiceover that says, vampires aren't the ones you see in movies, and they'll show this fucking clip on Nosferatu every time you see it. Anyway, so Nosferatu is a German ripoff film based on the novel by Bram Stoker. Apparently, they made this movie with.
Do you think this is like the first official ripoff film?
No, I'm sure there's a lot. No, there's plenty of them before this. I mean, this guy just made a nice version of whatever people rip off of. Okay. So this film, they actually got sued by the estate of Bram Stoker by his beard wife. Because remember, I think Bram Stoker was gay, right? And his wife was like...
I have no idea, actually.
That's what I heard. I heard that he was gay, and this was that Dracula was... imagine he's in hell going, "Hey, that's a lie! I don't like butt! Help! Help me!"
Didn't
what was that
they
voice?
Destroy all the copies except
That's what they did, but they found a version of the film which they released. We saw this version on YouTube. Which version did you see on YouTube?
So I watched both versions because it was really interesting because it's different music. So I watched one on YouTube and I watched one on like a streaming website. And
well, you saw it on Netflix or something, or
I saw it IO.
Okay.
Like IO movies, had a version which was like completely different music and in English. So like even though it still
what
has
do you mean
subtitles,
English? Like English subtitles?
Parts you could read it.
Oh, so they replaced the German text with just actual English text.
Yeah, and you could read it and everything. Yeah, and then but the music is completely. The music is so silly and kind of cartoony. But then the version on YouTube, the music is like this constant dark synth music.
I fucking love that version. I mean, that's the only one that I've seen. But
and
okay,
so 5 minutes is classical music.
Because the movie ranges from an hour and 32 minutes to an hour and 35 minutes. So I don't know what they say in the opening of the one on the YouTube. But they still have a version where they charge you to watch it. The hour and 35. I was like, let me see which one do I want to see. The one that's missing.
Who's gonna pay to see a movie that doesn't even have copyright anymore? And
so It says Nosferatu was restored by Luciano Berutua on behalf of Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau Stiftung. Oh my God, Wiesbaden.
Look at his voice. He's doing his accent.
In 2005, 2006, a tinted nitrate print with French intertitles from 1922 from the Cinématique François Paris was used as a basis for the restoration. That sounds classy. Missing shots were completed by a safety print from the 1939 from Bundesarchiv Filmarchiv, Berlin/Koblenz, drawn from a Czech export print from the 1920s. Other shots were taken from a nitrate print of the 1930 version, distributed under the title Des Wolf Stund, the 12th hour, preserved at Cinémathèque François Paris. I'm trying to find the music that was used in this version because I was really
and then watch
into
the IO movie,
okay.
and it's like such a different.
Is
vibe.
it more like orchestral or something?
No, it's just like I don't know.
I gotta assume the one. I gotta assume we're gonna. I think we can do a deep discussion about this film, sort of.
I think the music on the IO one is like kind of silly, and if that was the original music, then that's kind of silly. But
is it a little bit more?
English, so that was probably the American version.
Is it a little bit more sort of rambunctious, a little bit more pomp and circumstance?
It's just more like I'm going on an adventure. Blah, 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 blah.
Then I probably believe that.
Like this dreary thing.
I would believe that's probably the real music, as opposed because it's called a symphony. I don't know if it's a symphony of terror because of just the way that this version is. But remember when we saw Freaks? Remember the music in that movie sounded like circus? I mean, it was. It made sense that since it was in a circus film, but it used that sort of weird music throughout the whole film, and
it worked for Freaks. I don't think it worked so well for the. I don't know. I mean, it worked fine. But
since the Nosferatu, the version that we saw, had that sort of dark synth core music, I don't think they wrote that for synth. You know what I mean? 1922.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So, but that one, I really fucking love that music. I remember there's a whole, for like 40 minutes straight through, they used the same synth tone with little like piano stuff. This is a version that we saw on YouTube. I fucking loved it.
Imagine Nosferatu, like Count Orlok is just this totally normal guy, and it really was mosquitoes biting everyone's neck. Really was the plague.
Thinking about it,
guy's just like unfortunate, like caught in the act of doing nothing.
Do you think this movie might have fueled a little bit of anti-Semitism?
You think? Is he supposed to be like?
I mean, you sort of have to look at everything in history. I mean, this is 1922, so I don't know when that started to, get the Jewish people in trouble over there in Germany. But like, you look at Orlok. He's this guy. He has a big nose. He's like he has money. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's racist for me to say that.
That's very Jewish. Those are Jewish traits.
I meant a stereotype
version
Jew,
of it. Everyone. I'm a Jew.
But I'm not. That's the trouble. But I don't know. Just looking at it, I don't know if like everything's all...
worse.
Because I'm not a guy who has a knee-jerk reaction to everything like that, and I'm sure the Germans had good intentions with it, but everything's possible. Anyway, but it is based on the novel of Bram Stoker, which was a very... a controversial book at its time because it dealt with a little bit with like subtle sexuality, which was very harumph. People would go against that type of talk. Back
you ever
then.
See Dracula Dead and Loving It with Leslie?
I see parts of that movie. I don't like. People say it's terrible, but
it's so good, man.
Is it? Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. Mel Brooks is in it as the doctor. Like, it's the best fucking movie.
Okay, because I mean, the parts that I saw, I laughed at because people said it was awful, but I'm like, it didn't seem awful to me. That was his last movie. Like, that's Mel Brooks' last film. Because I guess people must have thought he was terrible.
It's not awful at all. Anybody who says it's awful, like, kind of doesn't have a sense of humor because it's so funny.
So this film is essentially a telling of the Bram Stoker novel, where Jonathan Harker, and in this version he is called what? Jonathan Hitler? Oh no, Jonathan Hutter.
He's Hutter.
Just Hutter. He's Hutter. He's got his hot babe of a wife called
Hutter. Ellen Hutter.
Ellen Sangfrau. She's pretty cute.
Can you imagine having a boss that looks like that guy Knock and not understanding that he's evil? Even before he goes insane, he's so over the top.
Yeah, he is.
It's like ridiculous.
It's so funny because I thought the best actor in the film was the guy who was reading the ship's log. You know, the one in the middle of the film where he opened up the casket and it had like rats in it.
Yeah.
That guy was the most subdued actor in the whole film, and he was great. Everybody else was like very theatrical, and that guy for me is very subtle because like since you're watching like we saw the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, right? And everybody's doing backflips and going bonkers, and they have to do it because this is a very visual medium at the time. This is before they used any talking or sound in film, and like that one guy is acting like a real actor. Like he's doing like movie acting. He's not doing like over the top silent film acting. So it was really nice to see that. And I'm not like the only guy who ever picked up on it. And that guy's like in German hell somewhere going, yeah, he got it. See? Anyway, so obviously in the film, the original, I can tell you this. I haven't seen the full version of the Dracula film by what is his name? Oh, Dracula. The biggest version of it with
Bram Stoker's Dracula with Oldman.
The guy who directed fucking Godfather. I don't know why I can't think of the guy's name. Anyway, that version I've seen.
It starts with a C. Whatever. Tony Capo. I don't know. Whatever. I can't think.
I don't think that's anywhere close to that guy's name. But that movie had Keanu.
Francis Ford Coppola.
There you go. You're right. I did have seen it. It had Keanu Reeves. I guess people say that was miscast, but whatever. I saw him in a like I was watching a little bit of Speed because I think when I was a kid, Speed was the first time that stimulated my erotic thoughts of women's butts because remember Speed in the beginning. You ever saw Speed?
Yeah.
Remember the beginning of the movie where there was people stuck in an elevator? I'll tell you how much of a freak I am. I was watching this in theater.
What, are you looking up their skirts?
No, I leaned down in the theater, so no. There's a scene where people are getting out of an elevator because they got stuck in there, remember? There was one woman who gets out of the elevator and her skirt lifts up and her ass shows like with a thong. And I was like, this is for me. This is my life. So that was great. That was a great awakening for me as a kid. That was like
where your brain became an ass man.
Yeah.
You were like just an innocent boy, and then that happened, and your brain.
And I grew stubble.
His frontal lobe like changed shape or something.
Shape of an ass. But anyway, so why did I go into that? So So anyway, this movie is obviously a retelling of the Count Dracula mythos. Certain characters represent others, like you said, Knock represents Renfield, who is Dracula's little boy that he uses around, eating stuff. He looked cool in the Francis Ford Coppola version. Remember, he's like a guy with a lot of metallic shit on his face.
I'd be curious to see the Werner Herzog version from the 1970s, because apparently that got like really good reviews and shit.
Werner Herzog, yeah. I can't say I've really seen any Herzog films. There's a lot of directors.
I saw the one with the bear, the guy that lives with the bear.
Okay, yeah. Do you
is
think
that him? Or am I
yeah. He made the documentary. Is that tape for real, you think? I heard it was bogus. That audio
no, that's a real guy who is like a crazy
No, I know he's real, but I think that like the tape that's been leaked online, because they don't play that tape in that movie. They just play the audio. They just play it to the director and the girl, right?
Well, I mean, I can't recall this.
But online, there's a version where you can hear supposedly the guy getting eaten by a bear, him and his girlfriend. But people are saying that might just be a remake of the actual audio. But Herzog, yeah, he did a version with Klaus Kinski, I think a guy that he fucking almost killed, like, because they hated each other.
Yeah,
but they
the guy that he works with, they hate each other, but they
apparently
worked together forever.
I'm Team Herzog because there was like apparently that guy used to rape his daughter every night. Klaus Kinski.
Oh my God.
That's what his daughter said. So I mean, there's a lot of I don't know who the fucking why you want to fuck your kid, and I don't know, that guy's a real. If that's true, then he's a real problem.
That's pretty bad.
Anyway, yeah, that version, I want to check that out. And there's also that movie that stars Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck, who's really a vampire. It's called Shadow of the Vampire.
It's like a comedy, though.
Yeah, right, like a dark comedy. And I think, it got, like, a lot of people said it's great. And you can't go wrong with Willem Dafoe, really. Like, Willem Dafoe, I've never seen a movie where
he's one of those guys that's just good in everything.
Yeah, he's good in everything. And anyway, so this film obviously takes the template of Dracula. I've never seen, like I said, I never saw the Bram Stoker film. I've never seen any other version. I've never read the book, really. I tried to read the actual book. The book
I read the children's version of the book as a kid, and then I read the adult version as an adult.
I don't think I've even had Count Chocula. Yeah, I did have Count Chocula. That's pretty good. But everybody's
Count
aware.
Chocula, you got to give it a try.
Everybody's aware of the Dracula mythos. Like, if you can just simply Wikipedia, and everybody sort of knows the story. Sort of like how they know Superman's, background and Batman's background. Sort of like that's sort of chiseled into Western mythology, even though they come from different areas. And the basic storyline is Jonathan Harker is sent on a mission to sell some land, a plot of land, to Count Dracula, a mysterious figure that lives in. Does he live in Transylvania in the film? I don't know.
Yeah, Transylvania.
He lives in Transylvania. Obviously, Dracula is based on Vlad of Tepesh.
Vlad the Impaler. A good guy.
Yeah. And so anyway, Dracula is living in this area. Everybody's all scared of Dracula. They won't go past these certain woods because Dracula lives up there, and there's like a werewolf that runs around and shit like that. Apparently, it's Dracula himself.
Can I say though, when he's getting the cart ride to Nosferatu's house, it looks like Nosferatu's driving the cart.
It is him.
Okay.
It is him. Also, funny enough, there was I listened to a podcast where they read a short story that Bram Stoker wrote before Dracula. It was supposed to be part of the Dracula novel about this guy getting attacked by a werewolf who was actually Dracula. So I got to hear that, and it was pretty interesting. That's why that shows up in this film, when they're saying, oh, there's a Dracula here, and you actually see some sort of, they say it's a specific type of animal. It's like What kind of fucking dog? Oh, it's a striped hyena that's in the movie. But I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure if you're not aware of what a hyena looks like in Germany back then, they were like, "Oh!"
I only know it from Lion King.
They're probably watching it, going, "Oof, auch du lieber," and they're getting scared in the theater. I love that line. And that was interesting. So I am aware of the Dracula mythos. Jonathan Harker has to sell some plot of land to Dracula.
And his wife Mina.
Dracula
Lucy.
Dracula for some reason gets obsessed with Mina in the Bram Stoker film. Bram Stoker Dracula film. I guess Mina is a reincarnation of his wife that died. I don't think that's in the actual book.
They get a lot more into the him being inside the castle and stuff. It happens a lot faster in this movie.
Right. I mean, that Bram Stoker, they made it like a really erotic fantasy horror film. There's no. I was really surprised that there was no fucking Van Helsing in this movie.
There's also there's like a quick doctor thing, but they don't really get into it at all.
That doctor showed up like within 5 minutes. If it was supposed to be happening at the same time, right?
Dr. Seward though is the guy that like figures it all out, and that's the Mel Brooks character in Dracula Dead and Loving It.
But I mean, there's plenty of versions, and then there's also obviously the Dracula film with Bela Lugosi. I actually should watch that version. There's 2 versions of that film. They shot one with Bela Lugosi, and then they shot a version for Mexican audiences, which I heard is actually really good. They said it's better than the Bela Lugosi version. It's in Spanish. But anyway, this is obviously Dracula is the grandfather of all vampires. There was obviously before vampires. There were vampires always in lore, but Bram Stoker's novel is the one that got everybody into it. And I always thought Nosferatu was something that was before Dracula. I didn't realize it was the same fucking story.
Well, I guess the word exists, but like
right, yeah.
As a character, it was ripping off Dracula.
And it's so weird to see that this film is basically a movie in its time is going back 50 years before. Do you know what I mean? Because it's almost weird to watch this film, a silent film, and think that they're actually living this time. Because I'm so stupid. I'm like watching. I was like, oh, it's not. It must not be that different when they turn off the cameras. But obviously, it's like 50 years before. Do you know what I mean? They're not really like fucking.
Imagine it really looked like that. Like everything was like this weird
black and
yellow,
white or green.
sepia,
yeah, that was another weird thing about this film is that I didn't realize it because there's a lot of scenes that obviously they shot in day because you can't shoot shit at night in these type of cameras. Only one scene I think they shot in complete darkness is when this guy lights a torch. He lights up like a street lamp. That's the only time it's at night. And other obviously water shore scenes with water and stuff.
Yeah, you're supposed to just assume it's night.
What they did apparently in the YouTube version, the color of the tint of the screen is indicative of what time it is. So if it's blue, it's at night. If it's yellow, it's in the morning. I had no idea because I'm watching.
I kind of thought maybe I wasn't sure.
I'm watching and I'm seeing Count Orlok walking around. It's supposed to be night, but then I see the fucking shadows of a tree on the floor, and I'm like, that's not possible because it's like. I can see moonlight giving you shadows, but not that much of a shadow. Where you can actually see the fucking, a clear-cut shadow. That sort of threw me off because I was like, since I couldn't really tell, I didn't read that until after that. I was like, is he walking around in sunlight? You know what I mean? Because they couldn't shoot the movie at night. Obviously, you wouldn't see jack shit.
He's a vampire. He can't walk around in sunlight.
So this movie has the main character, Hutter. How would you describe him?
He's silly. He's
over the top.
Goofy idiot.
He has a bad wig on his head too. I hope that was a wig on his head. His head looks strange.
He needs to get laid. Him and Ellen need to have sex.
Do you think they had sex? Because she had to be a woman of virtue, right?
She's a innocent, pure maiden.
Yeah, but did they got like German hand jobs back then or something?
Does fingering count as? Are you not an innocent
They found
maiden
it. They had to have found
fingered?
a way. Because I mean, like. Those Germans back then, he's probably like asking her shit on his face and stuff like that.
Maybe they're doing dry humping and pooping in front of each other.
Yeah, there you go.
On each other.
He's like, let me see the brown, please, honey. Woof. What the hell are we talking about on this show? But so Hutter tells his wife he's excited to leave his wife. He's like
he can't wait.
He's ecstatic. He gets the job from Knock, who's played by Alexander. And
this lady's only reason to exist apparently is for him.
Yeah, Knock looks like a young guy in a wig, and everything looked cool in this movie. You know what's weird about this movie is that it actually looked good. Like it was a really well done film for the 20s. We knock it off because I have to get into my film history and see when the really like invasive sort of camera movements come in, sort of like, you know, push, pull, dollies, camera movement, because these films are mostly sort of long shots and wides and stuff like that, but they work for the film.
And then when they do a close-up, they'll just do a circle around it.
You got to think those cameras were like 80 pounds back then. They still sort of use like very heavy cameras nowadays, but they had to be fucking like. I can imagine just like you had to take. How long would it take to do just one scene? Like, could you imagine how long it must have took to make this movie? Like, it must have took forever to make this fucking film.
Honestly, I don't know. I'd be curious to see the history a little bit.
I was confused that they didn't use fishing wire to move shit around, because they had to do like these
there was like a lot of stop motion.
It's like obviously weird stop motion in the film,
but
like,
it goes so well. It's such a creepy vibe.
Yeah. Because like since it's an old film, when people just vanish off screen, you know that's just like a fuck up on the in the print. So ironically, like Dracula never.
Well, with Nosferatu, it was on purpose.
Yeah, but he gradually fades out of the screen, which is cool. Like he's not like he doesn't warp out of the screen like some people walking on the street would. They had some great like pretty interesting effects, like the part where they're on the ship, because that's a big part of the novel that people say. Because a lot of people say they don't like the novel, that it's a little bit boring, except for the part where there's a whole centerpiece where Dracula is having himself transported. Obviously,
he's in the luggage
else.
cargo, yeah.
And he has to have I heard it was like it's supposed to be the dirt from where he was buried in originally, so that's why he takes it with him. So that gives him like revitalization powers and stuff like that. And apparently he kills a whole group of people on the boat. I don't recall
that from Dracula, because wouldn't you lose that dirt over hundreds of years?
I have no idea.
Like every time you get out of the coffin, you're gonna have little bits of it clinging to you.
I was glad to see that in the film, because that's a scene I always hear about, the boat stuff. And then I was like, apparently they were trying to make a movie not recently, at least up to 6 years ago, just focusing on the boat, like with Dracula, which I think would actually be that'd be a pretty cool horror film.
Cruising with Dracula.
Yeah, and then apparently with this film. Not lore, but this film is the thing that introduced sunlight killing vampires.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it says in the trivia for the film, and I was like, really? Is this what it says? Everything was obviously staked through the heart and beheading. Yeah. But apparently this film is the one that made the whole idea of vampires affected by sunlight, because the guy who directed it, F.W. Murnau, who also worked on it, he wanted to make his Dracula story different so he couldn't get sued. Good job. By making Dracula die by sunlight, because in the original book, he's decapitated and he's like fucked up by these four guys.
He's stabbed in the heart and has garlic shoved down his mouth.
Right, and then they cut his head off, and it's like real graphic in the other movie. And then they kill like a character that doesn't die.
And then they skull fuck him. But they wrap garlic around their cock first.
Yeah, that's what kills him. So the stand-in for Mina is Ellen. What did you think about her?
She's
fine, right?
Completely dependent upon her husband.
Yeah, she like sleepwalks. She's like possessed by Dracula from beyond the shore. It's almost like a Last Jedi sort of thing, where somebody can reach you from beyond, from hundreds of miles away. Yep. There's a stand there. She's staying over at this house of these two people. This guy has a fucking cigarette in some sort of contraption that looks like a fucking saxophone when he's like writing notes, and I was like, what? He can't just have a fucking cigarette in his mouth? It's literally like, it looks like a saxophone that you could put on the floor because he's too lazy to hold a cigarette. Well, in the
1920s, you could only smoke cigarettes through saxophones.
So it is, you play music and you blow it out. I think that woman was like a Lucy stand-in, but nothing happened. So she was hot. The wife that she was staying with?
Ellen? Yeah.
Yeah, whoever that chick was, she was hot too. So that she's staying at their house, and meanwhile, Hutter finds out fairly early that Dracula is, Count Orlok is like some weird shit. Like the part when Orlok is
Death like, Bird.
And there was a legitimate, because I was watching this movie like 2 a.m, like most of it. Yeah. That scene when Hutter opens up his door, and he sees Dracula down the hallway just standing there. Like, I legitimately, I was like, whoa, that's some fucking scary shit. Like, it was spooky.
I really liked when he saw the crack of the coffin.
And he sees his face inside, and he sleeps with his eyes open and shit.
Yeah, I like that part.
Like, it was literally, like, it was really good. Like, I mean, it's an effective, but it's obviously...
Okay, but how stupid is this guy, though? That you got this guy, Knock, who's already so clearly evil.
But think how Hutter's acting himself. He's, like, acting like a goofball. That's probably how everybody acts in the film, you know?
And he goes there. He goes all the way there. And there's a guy there who looks horrifying. And he says about his wife, "Oh, she has a lovely neck." And then tries to drink blood out of his hand when he cuts himself.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you leave?
Well, he wants to make that deal. I guess you deal with a lot of shit.
I would just leave.
It was a different time in Germany. I mean, those people obviously were very desperate and got into some desperate issues a couple of years after.
It led them.
Hitler probably saw this and go, "He's the source of us problems." He was actually looking for drag.
They're blaming the Jews, but I'm going to blame them because they're the ones doing these stupid things.
Hey, listen to me. Drac lives matter. Very offensive. I apologize. Anyway, but I enjoyed this film. Like, it looks good. I mean, this is a type of film, like, because I don't go out of my way to look for 1920s films. There's only like a handful of 1920s films that you hear about because they're very important in the annals of cinematic history. So films like this and films like Metropolis, stuff like that. The other movies that we saw, like Freaks and all that stuff. Like, obviously, this is a type of film where I actually want to see, I want to watch Metropolis. Like, I want to watch that. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari was fucking great.
Yeah, I love that.
But it really...
I think all the ones we reviewed this month are awesome.
Yeah. I think we did that on purpose because I think those were like... and obviously, I don't know why we completely forgot about the Phantom of the Opera because I heard that was good too. But this film...
We'll get it next time.
It really depends on the score, on the music that's played along with it. Because I really, really stress that if you're listening to this and it's still up by the time you hear it, watch the version that's on YouTube that's like an hour and 32 minutes. And it an hour, 32 minutes and 33 seconds. I'm trying to find the name of the person who did the synth score for it.
Yeah, I wonder like what the original music was.
Yeah, but obviously they played it live while people were there, So I mean, it's obviously...
That's true too, yeah.
I actually will download the music for this movie because I really fucking like the music, and it was just like this weird, like if you just play this music in the background, like if you play at least the latter half of it, it
just makes everything creepy.
Yeah, it's just a great fucking theme to this, and obviously it wasn't intentionally made for this version. Well, I mean back then. This is like a newer version, obviously. From I don't know what year they made this version of this music, but it really, really, really helped set the mood for this film. So this is a film that really needs that sort of dark score, like because you said the version on IO is a little bit wacky and crazy and shit like that.
I don't know. It's a lot of like pipes and things like that. Like
yeah, that's probably closer to the real thing.
It's kind of cool, but at points it's like kind of like, oh, we're going on an adventure.
Oh, because it's also like Metropolis. They obviously have its original version. It has that spooky score, and also futuristic sort of music for back then. And then there was a version in the 80s where a guy named Giorgio Moroder, I think he's a musician. He's obviously a musician. I think let me see if he's the guy that did the music for like the sort of Giallo.
What's sad? Every person in this movie is dead.
I thought about that when I first started watching, and I had to like
every single one.
I had to like disassociate myself from that thought because
even like children who were born the day of this film are dead now.
Yeah, because it's weird because you watch it and that shows you the power of cinema. Like those people are forever alive because of this film. Like in 100, like who knows, in 100 or 250 years, if this, if Earth is still around, or well, obviously Earth will still be around.
Well, Earth will be around. We won't be around.
Right. Like, will it still be? Will these films still be around? Will people still watch film in the same way? Do you know what I mean? Will Marvel...
I mean, assuming society holds itself together that long, I think film will always be around.
So speaking of how music is affected in films, like when I was talking about Metropolis, there was a guy named Giorgio Moroder who did a sort of 80s version of Metropolis where he scored the film using actual like 80s acts to score Metropolis. Cool. So I mean, I don't think they would do that with this movie because this movie is a little bit more subtle. Metropolis is a little bit better art-wise. Well, a lot better art-wise. If you watch that film, it's almost like a dark version of the complexities of what the fuck is his name? The Tramp. What is his name?
Lady and the Tramp?
No, Tramp. The guy, the fucking guy with the cane and the Hitler mustache and the black hat. Why am I not remembering his name? Chaplin film. Anyway, but this film, like, it smartly recognizes the vampire lore. Like, they even, like, when he's reading the little horror, the little book that's explaining vampires and, you know, how they drink your blood and stuff like that. And he's laughing it off in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Then he starts reading and he's like, holy shit, this is for real. He's, like, getting spooked. I like that. It's little small things like that.
I don't know if this exists, but there should be a death metal band called Shadow of the Death Bird.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, it's very poetic. Obviously, a lot of people were very poetic in their approach to this type of film, which made it like very classy. This film was shot between August and October. Also, I guess it didn't take that long. August, September, October, 3 months to shoot this film. Very appropriately in October, at least they did it.
Did people care about Halloween back then?
I would think so, right? I mean, if it's been staying around since now, it's got to be something. I don't know what they dressed up as. I mean, if you look at some of the...
Yeah, they didn't really have many options.
In America, if you see some of what people dressed up in the 1950s, that's fucking racist as hell, so I'm sure they're dressing up as some other shit. I don't know.
Maybe they dressed up as, like, Frankenstein. When did that come out? Like the 1800s, I think.
Mary Shelley's book?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I don't know. Since she's apparently the creator of science fiction genre, so good for her.
Oh, it came out. Wow, she died in 1851. So
it was way before that. Yeah, but I mean,
1818. Holy shit.
Was there anything that you didn't like about this film?
No, that's good.
It's a good film. It really is a good movie. Like it's interesting to see this type of film, and it's probably more because it's aiming more at a genre that we like. You know, the horror genre.
It's just crazy that I haven't seen it until now. I mean, what kind of horror movie fan am I?
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the thing that's great about not seeing a film until everybody else says so many great things about it, and then you make your own fucking bones about it. Like, I don't hear people saying, oh, Nosferatu is the greatest, like, every day, you know? It's just a movie that exists, that you know is important in some value, and then you watch it, and it just happens. Like, I didn't see The Exorcist until a couple of years ago. I didn't see a lot of films until a couple of years ago, and then when you do, you're like, oh, this is a good movie, you know what I mean? It's like, I understand why people enjoy it. So this is really, this really is a film where you can watch it at night, just, like, watch it on the biggest screen you have and enjoy it, and it really is like a lesson on film, because you're like, oh, they thought of this back then. Like, it's not stupid writing, even though it's like a ripping off somebody else's fucking writing. That's what they did. They still obviously took care in making it.
I mean, nowadays it would be called an adaptation, but back then I guess that wasn't so common.
Yeah, there's a difference when you're making money off of it. Like, then that's different. If you did it for free, but they can waste fucking film for nothing.
Movies of books all the time. He just didn't ask permission.
Yeah, but Max Schreck was great. Everybody's very theatrical. I really like what they do with this film. I would give this movie a solid 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
I know it's a high bar up there. A 10 out of 10. Getting scared on your ship, which makes it a ghost ship. You invariably tie yourself up to the mast or the steering wheel. Is there a proper term for that?
It'll be the wheel.
The wheel, and then getting your ass bit too.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. This is all just a big misunderstanding. There was a plague. There were mosquitoes. This guy was born with some kind of weird teeth deformity, and everybody just wrongly blamed him.
That's true. He was not the guy. With that, Danny, what's the final word?
Happy October.